I really want to start the show off with a big rant about the debacle that is me trying to get deli turkey sliced at the proper thickness and how hard that seems to be in this general area. But I'm not going to do it. We're going to stay on topic. We're going to talk pinball. It's the year in review episode, for crying out loud. That review episode here is episode 211 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast. It's a commentary, specifically my commentary. And I am a man out of quarters. How are you? Friendly listener, it's been a little while since episode 210, like 10 days maybe, I don't know. I drove a lot of miles. I drove something like 2,900 miles since we last spoke, I think. Time has been a little blurry to me with this break. My company, Taylor Guitars, that I work for, closes for the last 2 weeks of every year. So I have a 2-week vacation built into my year. And we often take crazy long drives because we have a little blind dog who we can't fly with and can't leave with anyone who will freak out. So this year, we didn't drive to Oklahoma and then across the country over to like my mom's place in Eastern Oregon. Instead, we drove to my grandparents' house in Seattle, Washington area, Bremerton to be exact. And we drove up. We took the dog. And then Teresa flew on the day after Christmas from Seattle to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and has been with her family the last few days there. I drove back. I will tell you, Teresa and I took 3 days to drive up. We wanted to see some pretty things, like, a inexpensive motel that will accept pets in Palo Alto, California. We wanted to see that. That was high on the list of things we needed to make sure we saw. We did see the Golden Gate Bridge. It was beautiful, foggy, kind of rainy, as it tends to be. So that was a lot of fun. No pinball in San Francisco, one of the greatest pinball cities in the country, and I couldn't play any pinball because we really weren't there and didn't have time to get into that city that can take a while to navigate. Then we drove up the coast. We went through the Redwoods. Had a lot of fun doing that. That was excellent. We drove, I don't even know, what did we do from that? We drove up through the rest of Oregon up to my grandparents' house. Good times. Nice 3-day drive. Had a fantastic time at my grandparents' house. They live on the water in Bremerton, Washington, in their retirement home. I say retirement home, excuse me. In the giant house that's way too big for the two of them that they chose to retire in. Let's be real on what this is. The house that has a bridge in it, we'll call it. Fantastic house on the water. It's a great place for the holidays, and my family was there, my sisters and my nieces and nephews. Awesome stuff. Got to go see friend of the show and friend of mine personally, Todd McCullough, who has been a pinball luminary for a long time, former NBA basketball player, former University of Washington Husky, boo, go Cats. Todd McCullough lives not far from my grandparents. In fact, he lives 3 miles in a straight line, but like 19 miles by road, because there's some water in the way. In the area, I got to go see Todd and his amazing collection of games. We'll do a trip report on that in a little bit. I'll do an interview with Todd on that in a little bit. And then on the way back, Teresa was gone. Like I said, she flew to Oklahoma, and I was going to come back. And I thought, well, I'll drive, halfway. I'll do the trip back in 2 days instead of 3, because it's just me and the dog. And I got going really early a few days ago. I don't even remember what day it was. Sunday morning. And like about 6:30 p.m., I'd been driving all day. I'd been driving 13 hours at that point. I was in Sacramento, and I thought, there's no way on earth I'm stopping and staying. And I just drove all the way home. 20 hours straight, 1,280 miles, Seattle to San Diego in one day. That is the nonsense that I do when given the opportunity. So very little pinball other than Todd's house. In fact, no pinball other than Todd's house, which almost is enough, really. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I've been back. I've been prepping this show. Been prepping the next Pinball with the Pros episode. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And let's jump into some quick thoughts here. 5 fast thoughts. Boy, it's dawning on me this could be a long episode, and I'm just going to go with it, because it's probably going to be 2 or 3 episodes this week. I've got a lot of notes here of things we got to cover, and I've got some guests coming on the show to talk a few things, but this could be a long episode as I look at the way these notes pan out. 5 fast thoughts for episode 211, where we come to you not live from San Diego, California, where I played golf today, and it was like 60 degrees and beautiful, so sorry about wherever you guys are. Fast thought number 1, played in a tournament last night. I actually read a comment somebody wrote about the show video somewhere, I don't recall where, about how they wished Nate would play in the more of the local scenes and comment on that type of tournaments. Because the big ones are great, but not everybody can do Papa and Pinburg and Indisc and all these great big tournaments. Somebody wished I would play more local tournaments. And I always want to, but I'm often working and traveling and just can't get out on weeknights. So whatnot. So anyway, went to the Coin Op game room in North Park, San Diego, which is like an area in San Diego where there's lots of beards and there are lots of like wingtips and skinny jeans and people half my age, roughly, walking around drinking craft beers and eating custom-made tacos. It's North Park, San Diego. Anyway, so I went to Coin Op, played their like monthly tournament there. The 4 games they had there, just if you're keeping score: AC/DC Premium, No Fear, Wizard of Oz, and The Walking Dead Pro. So there's a lot of good players in San Diego. I shouldn't say that. There's actually not a lot of players in San Diego. There's a few players in San Diego. From what I have experienced, the average player at these monthly tournaments in San Diego is pretty good. Pretty good. Like, better than the average player I run into in other places I've been, if that makes any sense. And there's a little bit of home field advantage going on. Some of these guys really play these same machines over and over and over and clearly know how to score on them and everything. So I always know that it's going to be a tough win when I go to these local tournaments. And that was certainly the case last night. I got thrashed on a few games, but I did have one of my most favorite competitive pinball moments since I've been playing pinball in tournaments and stuff. I'm not a great tournament player. I'm not very good competitively. I love it. I really love it, but I'm not that good at it. I'm getting better. Josh Sharp asked me a few months ago, do you feel like you're still improving? And I'm like, oh, absolutely, still improving. Yes. So this was a 3 strikes you're out style tournament where the computer generally matched us up. There was, I think, like, I want to say 18 of us in this thing, maybe 16. And I won't walk you through the whole thing, but I'll tell you this, because it's supposed to be a fast thought, which is clearly not. I understand. I got up against one of the top 1 or 2 players at the tournament on AC/DC Premium, and after his ball 3, he was playing ahead of me. After his ball 3, he had like 56 million, and I think I had 20 million or 18 million or something like that. I was behind quite a bit, and I stepped up, and I channeled my Pinball with the Pros knowledge with Keith Elwin. I imagined a little, like, shadow Keith Elwin, like, above my shoulder, you know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi style, where he just whispers, "Hell's bells all day." Or, like, "Play a whole lot of Rosie. You can easily start that special scoring." Or, "Just shoot the ramps. Just shoot the ramps." And I did that. I just shot the ramps, and I hit some drop targets, and on my ball 3, I actually played 3 different multi-balls. I played Jam twice and Album once, and all of them were pitiful and terrible. But when you play 3 multi-balls and keep the ball alive for that long, and I actually had a 4th multi-ball lit when I did finally drain, and I had a big bonus, I won. I came back from 1, and everybody was watching me because it was the only game still left going, and it was a lot of fun. It was fantastic to beat him, and trust me, this guy's a good player, and he was not happy I beat him. In fact, he apparently the game had 3 tilt warnings before a tilt on this, which normally you'd get 2 tilt warnings. This game was set to 3. Everyone claimed I had used all 3. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will tell you this. Had I tilted my bonus, because I tried pretty hard to save the ball at the end because I had a multi-ball lit, and I knew I wasn't past him yet. Had I tilted my bonus, I would not have won. I had a bonus of something like 4.5 or 5 million, and I won by like 2 million. So it was fun. That's all I'm saying. It's one of those things that makes me want to go play another tournament like right now. So a lot of fun. I won't tell you about all the other thrashings that occurred to me. But my friend Zach, top 4 or 6 finish, really good. He plays good. He's cool under pressure. Fast thought number 2. Zach and I, since we both work for Taylor Guitars and we've been closed for 2 weeks, we went and played some pinball before that tournament at a place called the Harbortown Pub in San Diego. Friend of the show and friend of San Diego Pinball, Mark, runs the games there, and he has a Game of Thrones Pro there at the Harbortown Pub, and Zach and I went in and played a bunch of games on it. And it was nice to kind of just go through the rules and really watch Zach play and read the rules as he would start modes and kind of see how things went and figure out where the add-a-ball is and just kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. And when I got there, Zach said to me, "I don't really like this game." He goes, "This isn't that fun. I like Kiss better," is what he said to me, because he and I had been playing Kiss at the High Dive a few weeks earlier. And I said, "Really? You don't like this?" And, you know, to him, it was really just a basic, just some ramps and loops games. That's what he said. He goes, "It's just a bunch of ramps. There's nothing fun." And I said, "Dude, this game is fun because of the rules. And he said, really? Like, very skeptical. Zach's a cynic, skeptic. And he's like, really? You sure? And I'm like, yeah, man. And so as we got into the game and he started seeing how the progressions worked and how the battles work, and trust me, we're scratching the surface. We don't even know. He really got into it. And that return shot from the dragon shot is one of the fastest moments in all of pinball, period, ever, end, stop. I'm not sure if you could name me something faster. I mean, I know the shot on Iron Man is similar, but the dragon shot's from closer. It is so fast. And if you hit that shot while the winter is coming, strobing light effects are on, good luck. You can't see that ball. But I like it. I like Game of Thrones. It flows, man. Everyone said it. That's nothing new. Not breaking any news here. All right, fast thought number 3. This morning I got up and drove to the golf course, and on my way to the golf course I was listening to, guess what? A podcast about pinball, just like you're doing right now. That's a true fact. So I was listening to what has turned out to be, because I like all the pinball podcasts. I love them all. I love them all differently, but I love them all. I love anybody who wants to talk about pinball. I'll say that right there. Some I love a whole lot, like so much that I want to like hug them in a big group hug with the hosts. And some of them I love them like, man, yeah, I love you. Keep talking about pinball. So this one, however, has kind of snuck up on me, and it's the Coinbox Pinball Podcast. I took a break from their show for a little bit because of some audio issues that I felt like were happening in some of the very early episodes. But I remember saying to somebody, maybe Josh, I remember saying, I really like the take that these guys have, that Tony and Chris on the Coinbox Pinball Podcast have, because they're coming at it from this really unique hobby operator angle that I like a lot. And they have a great demeanor between the two of them. And it's so interesting to me, because look, clearly 211 episodes in, friendly listener, I've run my mouth a lot on a lot of subjects about pinball, and I clearly like to hear myself talk on some level. I get it. But what I really love is when I hear somebody else have a different angle, viewpoint, opinion, whatever it might be, on stuff related to pinball. That's super interesting. And what I love about theirs is they have a bunch of games on location, and I get to hear what their earnings percentages are every month. So it's like, month to month, you kind of go, okay, is Wizard of Oz going to be number 1, or what's going to be number 1? And spoiler alert for Coinbox Pinball Podcast episode 20, Game of Thrones was their top earner. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And go and listen to their show. If you're only going to listen to one episode to try it out, if you haven't dove deep yet, if you haven't gone and followed their journey through 20 episodes, start at episode 20 because it's a really good one, and then go back and listen to them. But I really liked it. And I really like that show. So I just wanted, that's a fast thought there. So very interesting stuff. Good stuff, guys. Fast thought number 4 actually comes from the Coinbox Pinball Podcast. You see, these are related. They're linked together, if you will. If you want to know about the Coinbox Pinball Podcast, you can find them at coinboxpodcast.com. So they have a sponsor of their show, and it's PayRange. And my fast thought here is PayRange is basically a piece of machinery that works with your pinball machines on location that lets people pay with credit cards, right? So you have to have the app on your phone from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and then you use the app to buy credits, and then you can make the pinball machine go. I haven't seen it work in person yet. I have yet to come across this system, but they go kind of in deep about PayRange and how it works in episode 20, and they also go on to say that their earnings since PayRange has been put on their machines have gone up 30%. 30%. That's huge. People don't carry cash. People don't have a lot of quarters. I'm out of quarters, folks. I know, it's so bad. Sorry. Credit cards. I mean, digital payment. Everywhere I go now, I see accept Apple Pay or whatever. I don't even know what it is. Apple Pay, iPhone Pay, whatever they call it. I'm not that hip. So, really cool to hear about this whole system of PayRange. PayRange is the way of the future. Trust me. This whole quarters thing is, already I love when I go to a place and it takes dollar bills and I just get to carry a bunch of dollar bills. I hate having a pocket full of quarters. Anyway, so the PayRange thing. Look into PayRange. If you're operating machines and you're listening to me, I would strongly suggest listening to that episode that I referenced, episode 20 of the Coinbox Pinball Podcast, because that is the future. I'm not saying there'll never be quarters, but I'm saying that pay range and digital payment, mobile payment, that is an edge you should have as an operator to try and make more money on these machines that are, for some of you, trying to earn money to pay themselves off or to make your living, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So good stuff. Pay range. Didn't really know much about it until I heard these guys talk about it. Very good. Fast thought number 5. This one will be quick. America's Most Haunted is still thrilling people at my place. I've had some people come over through the holidays. Once I got back, just some coworkers and friends come over. Some of them have played pinball before. Some of them had no idea. Every single person that's come in here in the last few days walked away saying America's Most Haunted was their favorite game between Metallica, Twilight Zone, and America's Most Haunted. That it was the most fun, it was the funniest, it had the quirkiest stuff going on. It really is a special game, and I'm glad I have it. So, anyway, that's my 5 fast thoughts for episode 211. Did I mention this is the Year in Review show? This is the Year in Review show for 2015, but not yet, because first we got to do a trip report. Trip reports. I really should have Teresa here for this because she went on the trip with me. For over 2 years now, I've had this gracious invitation from one Todd McCullough in Washington to come see his game collection and hang out and play pinball, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally got to take him up on this, and I'm so glad I did. I wish I'd done it sooner. Todd has this beautiful home in the Seattle greater area. I don't want to give you his exact address or anything here, but I will tell you this. He has this collection of vintage coin-operated amusement devices that spans pitch and bats, bowlers, shooters, all sorts of stuff I've never seen before, stuff I've never heard of before, like boxing games. Then he has some more modern stuff, some like horse racing fair type games. Amazing stuff, so much fun, fantastic collection. We're here to talk about pinball. This is not Coast2Coast pitch and bat. This is Coast2Coast pinball, I think. So Todd had this main game room in his basement that has a whole area which is all these modern Stern games with an America's Most Haunted stuck in there for good measure. And then on the other side he has this Bally Williams side which has, your A-list Medieval Madnesses, Attack from Mars, Monster Bash, just, fantastic games. So amazing. And then he has this annex side room, which is like a spare bedroom that just happens to have, little games like AC/DC, Champion Pub, WrestleMania, Limited Edition, Avengers Hulk, ridiculous. His spare room would be some people's dream collection. And we had a great time. We got to play a bunch of the old school games with Todd and his son. His son is 5 years old and already, I think he's 5'11" or something. No, I'm just kidding. But he's really, tall because Todd's 7 feet tall or something like that. So, I just want to, I can't gush enough how gracious and welcoming Todd is. Todd's a good dude, and I'll shut up now and let's talk to Todd McCullough at his place. All right, coming to you not live from Bainbridge Island, Washington, Todd McCullough. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for coming.
Oh, man, what an invite. You have one of the best home game rooms I've ever seen. I'm sure you hear that often.
I don't get tired of it, and I aim to please, and it's fun to have people come here and enjoy it. So thanks for making the drive and for bringing the lovely Teresa along so we can all have some fun.
Yeah, Teresa's over. What is she playing right now?
Attack from Mars. She loves it.
It's her favorite game.
And Tron, she's good. She's good for hours.
I literally could probably leave her here for the whole duration of my vacation, and she'd be fine. She's liking that. So we're in the Stern row.
Yeah, Stern row.
Stern row with maybe a spooky game.
With a spooky and a
safecracker.
Because it fits. Nothing else will fit in there. So
I thought that was just for the ironic big man playing a little pinball machine photo op that we can do.
I make Hercules look like a small game.
That's good stuff. So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. We're almost to Christmas. We're up here visiting. Tell me, first of all, we got to see the annex, as it may be.
My friend called it the Game Preserve, but someone has taken that title for their... I should have coin-opted when he said it to me. He's like, I was in the Game Preserve over there, or the Game Reserve, and then someone's made a barcade out of it, which good on them. We call it the coda, which is kind of I think the finishing, it's a musical term for the finishing piece, and so my father-in-law thought this is the finishing piece of the game room to have this addition, and so we call it Dakota. Some kids think it's called the Dakota.
The Dakota.
They don't know what, so I just go with it. It's the outbuilding, but we call it Dakota.
There's some pretty rare and vintage EM game machines from just all eras and all styles over there.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff, and it's fun to have you guys come to town, because I don't play that stuff as much unless I have company. I'm down here in the basement, playing the pinball machines that fight me back. But to have new people come that haven't seen that stuff, it's really fun to make the rounds and check out the stuff that's really interesting. And I think it's the reason we're all attracted to pinball is the physical nature of it. And it's not a bunch of video screens, although there are some video games over there. They're really unique mechanical things that are like little mannequin games. And so I've always loved playing bubble hockey and dome hockey. Super Checks, which is over there, and I realized that the reason I like that so much is this is basically a more modern mannequin game where you're manipulating a little human character. So to find a little bowler guy or a basketball guy or a skee ball guy, there's
the boxing machines. It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots from the 40s or
like
whatever.
A coin-op version of it. You can duke it out. And so I love things that are simultaneous, things that you can play. Pinball's great, but everyone needs to take turns unless you're playing Joust. So I love that horse racing game we were playing where the three of us are having the same experience at the same time and we can talk smack to each other. And so I've tried to focus on things that are unique and different when people come to visit and someone's not into pinball. Hopefully there's something else here where they can have some fun with it.
Yeah, there has to be. That's pretty awesome. What's 2015 been like for you in pinball? What's been like the highlights for you as far as maybe what you went and saw, what games you acquired, or just kind of what's the rundown for Todd McCullough in 2015?
It's been a ton of fun. It's really nice to see pinball growing and see new manufacturers and have Spooky come on the scene and loving America's Most Haunted and really looking forward to 2016 and with Rob Zombie coming. Anxious about getting Hobbit, and I've got a spot picked out for that, probably right next to Wizard of Oz. Really excited there. Really excited about the Big Lebowski and all the cool stuff that's happening. Whereas a long time ago there just wasn't the variety and the different ideas. And I'm looking forward to what Highway is coming up with. And so there's so many things to get excited about. And it seemed like 2015 was a year just ramping up, getting ready for. It sounds like 2016 is going to blow the lid off. But had a great time at Expo, which I always love, and had a great time at Pinburg, of course. And so I had a great year in pinball. Made some new friends. I had a pinball party over here the other day, and when I went around the room, they're like, "Well, how do you know Todd?" I'm like, "Well, I met you at Safeway, and you talked about pinball, and then I met you at Safeway because you brought up pinball, and I met you at the Ale House because I brought up pinball." And it's a small island that way, and it's there's lots of people around, and some of them are reconnecting with pinball. So it's fun to have people over and enjoy something that I'm into.
That's awesome. You were telling me earlier too. You not only have this great collection of games here, but you're operating games around Bainbridge Island, and you just had a record month at one of your locations.
Yeah, things are going well at a local pizza place. So it turns out that people still like pinball, and people like to go out to eat, and pizza and pinball are a great pairing. You order pizza, you've got some time to kill. And I'm a parent, and sometimes it's nice to have your kids occupied with something fun and safe, at the cost of 50 cents, and you can sort of sit down, have a sip of your beer, and eat a slice of pizza, and your kids can be doing something that they're enjoying and rediscovering, almost a lost art. So it's pretty cool to help introduce pinball to a new generation of youth here on the island. And things are going well at that location, and I'm enjoying some of the other locations that are a little bit slower, and less service calls and less dirt and things like that.
Are you going out and fixing these games yourself?
I'm doing my best, and if it's something serious, then I need to call in the backups. I've got some friends that are really helpful. The pinball community as a whole is great, and especially here in Seattle, people are very helpful. So I take care of the easy stuff, and when it gets bad, I need to call for backup. I need to call in an airstrike.
Do you think Seattle's in the running for the top pinball city in the country?
I do, and I feel really fortunate to be here with the amount of locations that we have and the amount of passionate hobbyist operators, and they really care about how their machines work, and there's just a network of people that help each other with parts or knowledge or whatever's necessary. And so I was just out in Seattle the other night, and once the kids were to bed, a buddy of mine hit up John John's and played this amazing location, and I can't wait to go to Add-A-Ball, and we've got Shorties, just had the annual tournament there. So it seems like any day of the week you can find a tournament, and if you're like me and like you enjoy competitive pinball. You like having something on the table, even if it's something small. And so I think they had a weekly at Add-A-Ball that I didn't make, but there were 71 people at it or something.
Wow.
Just awesome stuff. So I feel very fortunate to be living in a city where there's so many other people that agree that this is just such a fun art form activity.
That's fantastic. What's the most recent acquisition here in the game room?
WWE is in the. I just moved it into the bedroom to make room for Game of Thrones, which should be arriving here whenever it gets here. So I just made a hole.
You have a limited edition Game of Thrones coming?
I do. Yes, I have a limited edition Game of Thrones game coming, and love me some Steve Ritchie, and kind of looking forward to a WWE code update, so I can actually get some of the.
It's going to be interesting to see if they can tweak that game enough to bring people back.
I'm in for the long. I like it enough now. I certainly they have promised a code update, and
the rumored code update is happening by somebody pretty highly regarded.
I hope that's a true rumor, because I really like that person. I think he makes fantastic rules, and so if anyone can save it, he's the guy. But to me, it's not going anywhere. I grew up watching those guys, and so that's the latest thing to come in here.
That's cool. That's very cool. What would you say out of the new games coming? Hobbit the most look forward to? Rob Zombie, Lebowski? I mean, is there anyone that you just start thinking about?
Man, I'm so excited about all of them. I know
it's going to be a big year.
It sounds like a cop-out, but I'm super excited for all of them.
No, come on, man. Pick your favorite. Come on. No, you don't have to do that. I'm just kidding.
I'm super excited about all of them. I can't wait. And so in whatever order they arrive, I'm going to enjoy the heck out of them, and hopefully I can have
It's great for the industry, because I think Stern having some other, and I hate to even call it competition, because I don't know that it is competition. It's just some other activity in the industry. I think that's great just for the mental juices flowing at the big company, at the top dog.
I think everyone wants to be at their best, and I think sort of seeing what other people are doing helps you to be on your toes and make sure every facet, your artwork, your programming, the build quality, all that stuff, I think is just better for everybody. And I think innovation is happening with displays and technology, and everyone seems to be keeping the heart of the game together. What's actually fun about pinball, everybody seems to be maintaining that, and then trying to figure out ways that they can grow the game and change it, and draw new players, but keeping the heart and soul of what us old heads like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Todd, thank you so much for having Teresa and I over today. This has been a ton of fun, and we're going to go see what she's doing over there.
I think she was cussing.
I hear some language coming out of the first grade teacher in the other room. So anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you at Pinburg.
I will be at Pinburg. And, hopefully Cal Extreme if you make it out that way.
Possibly. That's very possible this year.
Pinburg definitely, and
maybe the Northwest show. That'd be great.
I hope you can make it up for that.
I hope so too.
I will be there. That's an easy one for me.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so we launched Pinball with the Pros finally. I announced it last episode. We put it up on YouTube on Christmas Eve, I believe. And wow, I gotta say, I knew it was cool. I was there, I recorded it, I edited it, I put it together. I wouldn't have gone through all this work and trouble if I didn't think it was a pretty good idea, right? But I didn't know if it was going to be as special to somebody who's not me as it was to me. Because I knew it was very fun and very cool. The feedback has been very flattering. Very, very flattering. Overwhelmingly, I mean, I can't really think of a negative other than a few little technical things that were pointed out, which I kind of expected. Remember, this was the first roll episode. But the feedback has been amazing. I haven't gotten to answer all the emails. I've had so many really nice emails about how much they appreciate the work. I've had YouTube comments. I've had Facebook comments about how much you enjoyed it. Keith was really good. So if you know Keith Elwin at all, Keith's not super outward guy. He's not Josh Sharp, right? He's not looking to go on 25 different podcasts and talk about his IFPA presidency and how he's the greatest player to never win a major. I'm just kidding, Josh. But Keith's a little quieter. So Keith comes on my show, my new video show, Pinball with the Pros, doing AC/DC, and he's just awesome. He's just so laid back and cool and relaxed, and I had so much feedback about how great it was to see Keith Elwin playing with a fool like me and just kind of talking me through this game, AC/DC, which has this incredibly deep, challenging, sometimes confusing rule set. And a lot of people said things like, this is the way I'm going to learn how to play this game. And that is what I wanted. When I read those things, I was like, oh, it worked. That's what I hoped for. We have over, as I'm, in about a week. Has it been a week since Christmas? I don't even think it's been a week yet. In about 5 days, we're over 1,800 views on YouTube, which is actually more than I expected. My average show gets thousands of downloads. And I figured that something that's like really aimed at learning to play one specific game would get like, I don't know, 1,000 views in the first week. I thought a week, 1,000 views was a good goal. So to be at 1,800 views in like 5 days is just way better than expectations. And I haven't even really done the proper promotion for it. I need to get out there and post it more and get it all over the place. But I got to say, thank you guys. Share it around, if you would, on pinball forums. Anybody, that runs pinball sites or league sites, or you have AC/DC around your world. It's a great teaching tool, I think. I'm sorry I play so poorly, but Keith plays great. So Pinball with the Pros is going to be a lot of fun. I had a ton of questions come in on like what's the deal with how many there's going to be, what games are going to play, who's going to be on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to kind of like do some quick hits on that. So people asked me about the camera shots, and I had some people comment on what's up with the display. It was hard to read on AC/DC. Color DMDs, I've now shot. I have 5 of these shot and filmed, and I can tell you the color DMDs are the hardest to get right. And with the setup I have, I can get it almost pretty readable for the most part. I think it gets better as the episodes go on. I'm very aware that one wasn't super easy to read, but I wanted you to be able to see kind of the mode starts and kind of get an idea where the scores were, and that's accomplished. So I think that's there. That'll get better. I'm trying. As far as the flipper cam, I thought the flipper camera was important because so much of what these top players do with the flippers is just almost impossible to see by just watching the big overhead shot, because I think you don't focus on it a lot. So I think, and I've done this with these shows recorded, is I watch the overhead, I watch the overall gameplay, but when I see like in multi-ball, focus on the flipper cam. Watch what these guys are doing with ball control and like live catching and dead flipping here and there, and just some of the flipper skills are so important, and it's really where all the action is. So I really wanted that 4-camera setup. And I think that's an important shot. So I had a few people ask why we did that. Games for Season 1, I don't want to spoil that. I want to kind of let that just kind of happen. I'll be honest, we're doing all Stern games because Stern is the sponsor of Pinball with the Pros, and I also think the modern Stern games with the rule sets as they are, those games need this sort of treatment. Those are the games that need it. I don't really need to teach you how to play, Bride of Pinbot. Like, we don't need to do that. Certainly there's other games from, other companies in Stern that could use this treatment, and maybe we'll get there someday, but the Stern games are the priority for now, and they're the most common games you're going to see on location. So I think I've already spoiled that the second game is Mustang. I will also spoil that it was recorded live in New York City. So it'll be not live for you from New York City at Modern Pinball NYC. Very cool environment because it's during business hours. There's people walking around looking at us like, what are you fools doing? But past that, we're trying to do Stern games with rule sets that are basically complete, because a lot of people said, come on, do Game of Thrones. I'm scared to do Game of Thrones because the rules may change, or just be added upon, or extended. Kiss, I could have done Kiss. We had the opportunity to do Kiss at one of the film shoot locations, and I just said, let's not do that yet. Let's wait, because I'm fairly certain Kiss is getting an update, so we didn't do that. But yeah, think, Stern games, deep rule sets, a lot of fun. I don't actually have all the games picked yet because some of it's going to be dependent on where I am and with who I am playing. I have commitments from quite a few top players. There's a couple people I still may ask if they would like to be a part of this just because of scheduling, but I didn't want to overbook myself or overpromise, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, people asked, I had a few people email and ask, could all the text from the shows be converted down to a file of some sort? I can't. I'm sorry. The editing of these things takes forever, getting all that text in, and I was so paranoid about having typos that I went through that thing 1,000 times and still at the very last second found a typo and had to re-render the whole video. Where it goes from here, so the first season is going to be 8 episodes. That's the deal Stern and I put together. They sponsored 8 episodes worth. They have already asked me if I'd be willing to do season 2 based around some of their new games. We're working that out. But again, games got to have kind of complete rules. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's kind of the hits. If you don't know what I'm talking about with all this Pinball with the Pros, you can go to YouTube and search Coast2Coast Pinball, and there'll be a video there, Pinball with the Pros. If you go to coasttocoastpinball.com, it's on the front page, Pinball with the Pros, Episode 1 with Keith Ellen. So, very good. That is that bit of housekeeping for this episode. All right, folks, it's the year in review. I had to go back and look at how I did the 2014 year in review because I quite honestly couldn't remember, and very confusing. But what I did last year, which, man, I'm going to steal this idea from myself. This is the 10 stories that defined pinball from my point of view in 2015. All right, no particular order, kind of stream of consciousness, so nobody, read into anything if I'm putting somebody first ahead of something, if I think it's bigger or anything like. Just these are the 10 stories I could come up with that I thought sort of made pinball news for me in 2015 from where I'm looking. So, and these are not in chronological order either. I don't think that I could honestly do the year in 2015 review if I didn't say what a year for Stern Pinball. Right? So Stern Pinball for a long time was the only company building pinball machines. Now there's other companies building pinball machines. So now Stern Pinball carries the crown of the largest company building machines, and really the only company building any mix of machines. There's some other companies building a single machine. There's some companies working on Game 2, but the only company releasing games year after year, quarter after quarter at times, is Stern Pinball. They moved into a 110,000 square foot facility this year out of their old 40,000 square foot facility. That speaks to growth, right? Games must be selling if they're building more of them. They have 8 titles currently active on their website if you go to sternpinball.com. This year we saw releases like WrestleMania, which may have been, that could be thought of as maybe the one bomb of the last couple years, like the one true, that one didn't do what I think they all hoped it would. Looks like they're still going to update the code there, hopefully turn that one around. But if you look at their site right now, they have Game of Thrones, recent release, Kiss, released this year, Whoa Nelly, Big Juicy Melons, a totally different type of release for the company, which was, thought to be a low production number. They called like a studio release, I think is what they called it. It was designed by Greg and Dennis of Whiz Bang Pinball. So that was a very interesting move on their part, and I think this extra capacity, opens them up to being able to do things like this. And then you still have Metallica, Star Trek, Mustang, and The Walking Dead all being built. And also, I was there just a few months ago, and they were building Iron Man Vault Editions. They did another run of those. So, lots of games, being pumped out of Stern Pinball. They are leading the industry. They are driving pinball from a game standpoint right now. Nobody can deny that. They hired new people this year. We saw 3D artists being hired. They promoted people this year into, vice president of production, vice president of other things. They're building their company bigger with an eye towards growth in the years to come, and it's exciting and it's a good thing. And it's, I can't say enough about the energy that it's taken for them to go from, think back to the early 2000s where it was grim and dark, and now we're in this sort of resurgence, and they're right at the forefront as they deserve to be. It's fantastic to watch. There were ups and downs this year. Game of Thrones, the artwork gets released, everyone comes unglued, everyone says, oh, it's terrible, I won't buy that game. The game gets released, game's awesome. Everyone loves the game. It's funny how that works. They made very thoughtful moves in 2015. You saw them hire a social media manager with Jared Gwines. It takes over their social media. That's a good move. That's someone who knows the community maybe better than the people who are, running the company day in, day out. They hire somebody who is in the community, who knows the community, who can reach out and help, create a better bridge to, the people who are attached to the company through social media and through websites and stuff. So that's a good move. The Whoa Nelly thing, that's a great move. Being able to do something totally left of center and not need to sell, thousands of games to make it work. That's a great move. The Vault Editions, the Iron Man Vault Edition, fantastic that keeps going. I think the big rumor is the Spider-Man Vault Edition's coming down the road. I love it. If I'm a company like Stern and I'm seeing a game that I built a couple years ago selling for 75% of the cost of a new game would cost, I'm all about trying to get some of those sales for myself, right? I think that's great business. So, my little thing was Stern wins 2015 is what I wrote on this paper. So I don't know how you can't kind of think that. All right. Next. Also in the game manufacturing news side of the world, Highway Pinball ships the first Full Throttle games. Actual production games of Full Throttle Pinball are shipped from England to the United States and Canada. That's a big deal. There's Full Throttle games that are now out on location. There's Full Throttle games in people's homes. These are games, a wide-body game on a slightly different platform with a different back box from a newcomer to the industry of building pinball machines. That's big news. The bigger story, I think, ends up being in 2016 as Alien looms large on the horizon. Full Throttle's a very capable game. But I don't think Full Throttle's capturing the imagination of the consumer market like Alien will. Alien will be sort of the watershed moment, the make or break for Highway Pinball, I think. And I have high hopes. I think it's going to do really well. Certainly a lot of lead up to that game. So very, very interested to watch that coming down the road in 2016. There aren't many Full Throttle games out there, but there are some. And there's more coming. So that's fantastic news. I think that's a big story in the tumultuous world of independently built boutique-type manufacturing of pinball machines here in 2015. On the flip side of that coin, we saw, this is story number 3, we saw delays for 2 premium-priced, very much weighted on games from one from Jersey Jack Pinball, one from Dutch Pinball. We have the Big Lebowski from Dutch Pinball, and we have The Hobbit from Jersey Jack Pinball. These delays are wearing on some people. I can tell by the tone of some of the emails I've received, some of the posts on message boards. You can see that there is definitely a grinding of the teeth a little bit on my $8,000 or $9,000 game is still not shipped. I think that a lot of the people in on those 2 particular games are in because they have either a very deep attachment to the theme, or they really liked the game when they did play the prototypes. And then there's probably some people who are sort of in the middle of those 2 things. I think both those games end up being very, very good and being very, very important for both of those companies. Obviously, Jersey Jack Pinball has to have that. To keep going. I mean, they did a good job getting Wizard of Oz out finally. They've had their road bumps. Speed bumps have been there. Jack took on investors this year. We had an investment group come in, and there's an influx of cash from Think Lab Ventures into Jersey Jack Pinball. That could almost be a story in and of itself, that there's fresh money coming in. And then you have Dutch Pinball, who had the big shakeup right at the end of 2014. That was one of our big stories at the end of 2014 is, whoa, what happened with Dutch Pinball? Things were rolling so smooth. And then they had the whole issue with the ownership group and with the Dutch Pinball USA shakeup and questions about the license. And it seems like it took them a little bit of time to recover from some of that. And now they're, like Jack is, I think, on these 2 games, they're in that whole building pinball machines is hard phase of trying to get these things right. Because the last thing any of these companies in this industry wants to do, including Stern for that matter, is hype up a game, get it all ready, and then ship it and have major problems. That's like the worst thing that you want to happen. So, big delays for big titles in boutique pinball. And I don't really call Jersey Jack boutique pinball, I should say independent new company pinball. So, all right, next story. Every person that ran a pinball show or a tournament of sorts, some sort of event centered around pinball this year. Every person, every showrunner that I spoke with, whether it was during the show, at the show, or after the show, told me that attendance was not just up, but in almost every case, they told me, blew away their expectations. People are going to events. Events are a thing. I was at quite a few this year. I was at Southern Fried Gamer Expo. I was at the Midwest Gaming Classic, Replay FX, Papa, others that I'm blanking on right now and confusing my ears. People will go to these events. If you put on a good show, if you make the value proposition work out, Expo, there are questions about Expo's value. I can tell you there's still a lot of people at Expo. Expo seemed very strong still as far as attendance. Shows centered around pinball, whether it's expos or tournaments, are strong and thriving, and it speaks to the player base the collector base, the hobbyist base is strong. It's good, and that's a good thing for everybody. It's more diverse, too. I felt the diversity was up this year. I saw more women. I saw more, non-white males at these shows than I feel like we're at there even just a couple years ago, and that's a good thing. That's fantastic. So, really good to see that. The strength of the shows is out there. All right, next story here. On the playing side of things, Zach Sharp kicks down the door, wins Pinburg this year, the inaugural Replay FX Pinburg, and wins his first major title. It's a big deal because the Sharp brothers have a lot of history, a lot of legacy going on in the world of competitive pinball. They've been doing it for a long time, and Zach was thought of by many people as sort of the best player who hadn't yet won a major tournament. When we talk about the majors, we're talking about the IFPA Championship, PAPA World Championships, Pinburg Championship, and the European Pinball Championship, the EPC. Those are the four majors in competitive pinball, and Zach hadn't won one until 2015. He won one this year, winning Pinburg in a really thrilling moment for competitive pinball on a Saturday night at a big venue with a big crowd in a cool setting. It was fantastic. To me, it's a high watermark for competitive pinball from a spectator point of view. I don't think there's ever been one better. At least I've never been at one or heard of one that was a better vibe and viewing experience. But what this does, I texted one friend of the show, sometimes guest of the show, soon to be guest of the show again, Mr. Josh Sharp, Zach's brother. I said, I'll just read you these texts. I don't think he'll mind. I said, let's see here. I said, Josh, are you the greatest? I put greatest in quotes because what does greatest really mean, right? But I put, are you the greatest player without a major? And he wrote, haha, probably, expletive, you Shivers. So, I don't know. And then I wrote, dude, just doing research. And then he said that Lyman and I joked that I'm one of the best never was. And I said, you're still young-ish. And he wrote, that helps. So, here's rooting for Josh in 2016. Gets off that schneid of being one of the greatest. There's a few. There, Jason Wardrick, top four finishes in majors, no wins. Dave Stewart, Neil Schatz. There's a few, but Josh probably has been in more of those tournaments, I think, than anyone without a win. So, not rubbing it in, just saying. So, anyway, congratulations again to Zach on the Pinburg 2015. And really, honestly, that whole night and that whole event, Pinburg moving to Replay FX should really be on this list. In fact, it was on the list, and then I sort of put arrows on my crazy note sheet here, back up to the showrunner thing, where some of all the showrunners telling me how great attendance was. Replay FX was cool, was different, was big, was the start of something. So that really cannot go unnoticed in 2015. That now, summertime in Pittsburgh at the convention center is kind of like a must attend if you're really into one of the coolest tournaments ever in Pinburg, and then one of the biggest collections of games out there to play like that in a really cool setting. So, looking forward to this year's Pinburg for sure. All right, next story. Predator implodes, and we watched it all play out on the internet. We got to hear some of it on this show. Other shows that had Kevin from Skip B on had to deal with it. It was really a crazy story, watching Skip B just fall apart in front of our eyes, going from these heroes, these kind of renegade, some kids in the basement heroes of boutique pinball. We're going to build Predator, and it's going to be adult, and it's going to be, hand-drawn art, and deep rule set, and fast and furious, and people were like, yeah, and sent them the money, and it was going to be this awesome thing to... We don't actually have the license to build this game. They've sent us cease and desists. Your money's all frozen. Lawsuits are coming, and everybody's left holding the bag. It's really pretty bad. Really unfortunate. So I hate that has to be one of the big stories in 2015, but it really was. It seems like so long ago, but that was really in the first, second quarter of the year. I don't know where that stands fully. I know that we've seen some pictures of Kevin on the internet out there in the world. It's not like he went into hiding or anything. He's out doing his thing. It's an unfortunate, bad situation that I think a lot of people have learned from. On that topic, the John Papaduke story really was a 2014 story. We saw, we saw a lot of that happen and start falling apart through 2014. I think the story in 2015 was twofold. Was the chance at saving it, the chance at having investors come in and, Pintasia come out and build the game, and maybe, some people get something. That was a big story for a short period of time until that did not happen. And then, for me personally, trying not to make myself the story here, but I think it has to be said, and I can tell you by the download numbers, Coast to Coast Pinball episode 197 is nearly double any other show in downloads, and that's the episode where John Papaduke came onto this show for well over an hour and kind of told his story. And whether or not you believed his story, whether or not you thought he was giving you the rose-colored version of his story, it was kind of amazing to sit back and listen to the man behind these multiple games where hundreds of thousands of dollars had been sent to him, and he had no way out. He had no way to build the games. It was all like on a hope and a prayer that I have this idea, and a lot of people believed in the idea. I think the ideas at their core were very good. They were certainly good looking, but there was no route to building pinball machines out of this and getting product delivered at the end. And to then have months later John sort of come on this show was just surreal, because I didn't even know how to approach it. I'm not going to hold the guy to the fire. Not going to do me any good. I chatted with him about how he got there and tried to get him to say what he thought about it. And I think what you heard is someone who didn't know what to do, who got in really, really deep. And I really believe we'll never see anything quite like this in the pinball industry again. I think that this will hopefully serve as a warning. Hopefully. Although, the right theme with the right group of people with the right intentions, you could have a scenario where a lot of people could send money in, and building these things is so incredibly difficult. But it was a big story. It still is a big story, because there's still people who don't have a game and don't have their money. So these two stories back to back are kind of the depressing part of 2015 for me. All right, next up is kind of an easy one, actually. It's Spooky Pinball. Spooky Pinball continued to ship America's Most Haunted Games this year. Shipped a lot of games, sold them all out at the Texas Pinball Festival. It was a big deal. And then they announced game number 2, Rob Zombie, which I think they're a few units away as I record this from selling that out. 300 units of Rob Zombie. Building a new factory of their own in Benton, Wisconsin. It's been talked about on this podcast many times. I'm a big fan. I love what they're doing. They are doing it their way. They are hitting a great price point, and they're building very unique games. And they're going to have a great 2016 building and shipping games. I mean, it's simple, but that's kind of what's going on up there in Wisconsin. So cheers to them for sure. All right, let's talk about the rise of Dead Flip. And not just Dead Flip, but internet streaming in general. Dead Flip, to me, has been the most out front there, but there's other shows that are very well done and very fun. And once you start sort of following some of these shows, you get to know the people in the shows and the personalities and kind of what they're doing. But Jack Danger at Dead Flip has really kind of taken the reins of becoming, whether or not he intended to, he did this. He became a personality in pinball. He dedicated himself to it. Because that's one thing, I've had a few people who do shows, podcasts like this, ask me, like, how do I get a good listener base? How do I do it? And all I can really say for sure is you got to dedicate yourself, because if you don't put the work in on your end, people will know and they will not appreciate it. And something Jack Danger did from the beginning of the Dead Flip stream on Twitch is he said, we're going to play pinball Monday through Friday every night for at least an hour, and oftentimes 2 every night. That actually blew me away when I first heard about this, before I really knew Jack and had gotten to spend any time with Jack. When I heard anybody was going to do 5 nights a week of pinball streaming, I kind of shook my head and I thought, that will not last. There is no way that will last. If you've been with this show from the beginning, you know that there are times when I get in a groove and I can pump out 2, 3, 4 shows in a week. That's happened. That's hard to do because you will have times where choice A is go do episode 165 of my fun pinball podcast. Choice B is to go sit on the couch next to my beautiful, lovely, amazingly smart, talented, and just the coolest cat any man could wish to have. Sit next to the cat on the couch. And when you have those, I'm just kidding, I'm talking about Teresa, my wife. You know, when option A is go talk about pinball to a bunch of strangers, and option B is to go hang out with the love of your life on your couch, sometimes you're just going to pick option B. But to really make this all worth it, because I'm not getting paid for this. Hello, I do this for the fun of it. But to make it really worth it and be proud of it, you have to dedicate it and put a lot into it. And that's what Jack Danger's done at Dead Flip with his amazing persistence and his, you know, his quirkiness, his dashing good looks, his great hair, all that stuff. That's like an ongoing joke if you don't know. Jack's a good dude. Jack's clearly dedicated. The guy loves pinball. He's a fun guy to watch. You know, people throw money at this guy to play pinball on Twitch. Blows me away. It's fantastic. Love it. I support him any way I can. I love that he got tied in with Stern a little bit this year and started getting to do things with Stern and launching games. I know he's soon going to be at Spooky Pinball doing a Twitch stream video of the Rob Zombie game. It's so cool. I don't know if there's anybody better in pinball to do what he's doing than him, if that makes sense. He and I are scheduled to actually do the commentary for the finals of the Texas Pinball Festival main tournament in March. Pretty excited about that. I got to learn my catchphrases. I got my donate to kids. Butts is a big one, and there's probably some others. So I need to watch some Dead Flip streams and catch up with Jack on that. But anyway, looking forward to it. So 2015, fantastic year for Dead Flip on Twitch. My last one. This is it. This is my last story. It ties right back around to why I started Coast to Coast Pinball. There are a ton of pinball podcasts out there now. A ton. When I mentioned earlier, I drove 20 hours straight by myself a few days ago to get home. I listened to a lot of pinball podcasts. I download all of them, most of them. I may be missing some. I don't know. There's a lot now. When I started the show, there weren't that many. They're really what I was listening to when I started this. I was listening to Spooky Pinball monthly, Game Room Junkies monthly, and Pinball Podcast monthly. So I had, you know, in that group, I had 4 to 5 hours a month of people talking pinball to, like, keep me company. Sort of, you know, that's what happens with podcasts. They become the people that keep me company. I feel like I know these people really well, even though I maybe don't. And I know some of you probably feel that way about me because I get the emails, and you creep me out a little bit, quite honestly. Just kidding. We're all friends here. But what I'm telling you is when I started, there just wasn't a whole lot going on. And there have been some that have come and gone. But now, today, I can't even keep up with all of them. I have to actually just miss some of them because there's so many. And I caught up. I had a lot of fun. There's quality ones out there. I hate to name any because I'll miss some and I don't want anybody who listens to be offended. But there's a lot of good ones. You can find them easily. They're all out there for you. I think it's so awesome that people are taking the time to have their opinions and their thoughts be recorded and shared and their takes on this such a niche little hobby that we're all into, pinball. It's so small and tiny. Like, I'm into guitars. I work in the guitar industry, which is, you know, it's not small, but it's not like, I don't know, like being into like video games. Video games is much, much, much bigger than guitars. Movies, much, much bigger than guitars. Clothing and fashion, much, much bigger than guitars. Well, guitars is much, much, much bigger than pinball. Pinball's very, very small. And if you're not into it and you don't get it, you just don't get it. Because it's this amazing thing that drives me to, like, you know, seek out a game in a town I'm not in. I'll go, like, drive crazy lengths to go find just a pinball machine to play a few games on, just for the love of it and for the fun of it. The stories, the colors, the lights, the feedback from the game, I don't have to tell you. If you've stuck with me on this long episode of Coast to Coast Pinball, you know what I'm talking about. There's something that is just I hate to use the word magic, but it's absolutely magical what pinball does and what drives people to do what we all do and go where we all go and spend as much money as we do to bring these games in our homes and take up all the space, and our spouses and significant others think some of them think we're crazy. Some of them get sucked in right with us. It's like sometimes it just takes the right game, the right piece of gateway drug to get them in, and it's amazing. And so all these pinball podcasts and all these streaming shows and all these YouTube videos popping up, I love it. I can't even keep track of it anymore. It makes me feel like we're winning on some level. Like, that's how it really makes me feel. The day that I couldn't keep track of all the podcasts, I was like, hey, on some level, it's what I always wanted. And that's what I was trying to contribute to by doing tons of shows and talking about it. And now it's really, I got to tell you, it's a part of me, and I've met some of the best people I've ever known in my life through pinball. And I'm really, really fortunate and thankful for it. So, with that, that's the best I can wrap up 2015. That's been a fantastic year. And you know what? 2016 literally starts tomorrow, because I have another show already noted out and some interview stuff lined up. We're going to get right on 2016 looking ahead. Arcade Expo starts it as far as events go in Southern California and Banning, the second weekend in California. So we're going to talk about that on episode 212. And boy, guys, it's been a good year. I think we did 75 episodes this year. 85 episodes? I might be wrong on that. We did a lot of episodes. It was a lot of episodes. Because if I go back and look at episode number... Okay, so 128 was the 2014 year interview. 129... Hold on. Math with Nate. 211 minus 129. Carry the 1. Oh, that's a 0 now, so I got to bring a 1 over. That's a 10. We did 82 episodes this year of Coast to Coast Pinball. Thank you, guys. Thank you, girls. Play more pinball, be nice to each other, and take care of yourselves.